Well, between Notre Dame and Penn State. So this is going to be some physical football. These are two of the most physical teams in the country, and I think it's going to be a very close defensive game. But I think there's going to be a little more offense in this game than there was in the Notre Dame Georgia game. So with coaching in this game, it's pretty similar. Both of these teams have struggled a whole lot in the big games. Notre Dame's though struggles that haven't just been with Marcus Freeman. They had been struggling in the big games with many different coaches. While Penn State's struggles in big games have really only been with James Franklin, and Marcus Freeman finally did get Notre Dame a big when while James Franklin has won these two playoff games, he's really just beat the worst two playoff teams to get into the Final Four. And in my opinion, for him to have a recent big win, he will have to win this game because SMU and Boise State weren't elite teams, in my opinion. And Marcus Freeman is a lot like Oregon's Dan Lanning. He's a young, really good defensive minded head coach that has a big focus on the line of scrimmage dominance. And I wouldn't quite put Freeman with Lanning, but I think right now Marcus Freeman is a top 15 head coach, and Notre Dame's got one of the best defensive coordinators in the country, Al Golden, and I think they've got a better overall coaching staff than Penn State does. But at quarterback in this game, both quarterbacks are not great, in my opinion. They're pretty similar passers, but I guess I would give Notre Dame a little bit of an advantage because Riley Leonard is a better runner than Disaster Aller is. But Riley Leonard, was terrible passing. Against Georgia. But Disaster Aller has struggled in both of the playoff games against worse competition than he's going to face in this game. But at wide receiver in this game, I think it's pretty obvious that neither team is great. So for Notre Dame, though, Jordan Faison has been their best wide receiver in the playoffs. He's really come on this season. In the two playoff games, he's got a combined 11 catches for 135 yards. And Penn State's top receiver, Harrison Wallace, has had a pretty good season with 46 catches for 723 and four touchdowns. But Penn State has the advantage here because of their tight end Tyler Warren. He's got nearly 100 catches this season, and he had a big game against Boise State where he caught 6 passes for 63 yards and two touchdowns. And at running back in this game, they're pretty similar, both great. Penn State's two running backs, Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen, are both now over 1,000 yard rushers, and they combined for 221 rushing yards against Boise State. And Notre Dame, of course, has got a much better front seven than Boise State does. But Penn State did face Oregon, who has got a really good front seven, and Singleton and Allen combined for 229 yards rushing. And this will be tougher running backs for Notre Dame's defense to handle than they went against Georgia. I think. And Singleton and Allen couldn't do much against Ohio State, but that's not really bad on them because Ohio State's really on a different level with everybody this season, it seems like. But I think Penn State will be able to at least run some on Notre Dame. And I guess I would give Penn State a little bit of an advantage at the running back position because Notre Dame's Jeremiah Love, their best at running back, is about as good as Penn State's two running backs. But their number two running back, Jadarian Price, even though he's very good, I don't think he's quite on the level of the three other running backs that I just named. And Notre Dame top two running backs did struggle badly against Georgia. They only combined for 56 yards rushing. Uh, and Georgia's front seven, though, I do think is a little bit better than Penn State's is. But this is kind of a concern for Notre Dame because Penn State's up front seven is one of the best in the country, and if Notre Dame can't run the football hardly at all, then I don't think that they're going to be able to win this game. So at the line of scrimmage, both teams are very good on both sides. Penn State's offensive line, I think, may be the best one that Notre Dame will have faced this season. Because even though Penn State's offensive line doesn't have a talent or size advantage over Georgia, Georgia's offensive line has had some struggles this season with pass protection and blocking that Penn State's offensive line really hasn't had any trouble with. And Notre Dame's offensive line did struggle badly, against Georgia, and that is concerning for them in this game because Penn State, has one of the best defensive lines in the country, and Notre Dame's defensive line, though, is close to as good as Penn State's is. So on the defensive side, Notre Dame's better against the pass, while Penn State is better against the run. Notre Dame's averaging giving up 128.2 yards rushing per game, while Penn State is averaging giving up only 100.9 rushing yards per game. And then against the pass, Notre Dame is only giving up 167.4 yards per game, and then Penn State 187.9. For Penn State, their defensive line is very deep, but their most famous player, Abdul Carter, for good reason, is injured right now. He missed most of the Boise State game, and I saw he's probably going to play in this game, but it's not known how close to 100% he will be. And Abdul Carter is such a good player that they wouldn't have to have him 100%, I don't think. But if they could have him at about 90%, I think they'll be in pretty good shape. But if Abdul Carter is nowhere close to 100%, I don't think that Penn State is going to win this game. Now, Penn State's got another really good player on their defensive line, Danny Dennis Sutton, who is a very good pass rusher too. And Notre Dame's best defensive lineman, Riley Mills, is out. He's going to be out even if they make the national championship game. But they're deep on the defensive line too. But their second best player, Howard Frost, is dealing with an ankle injury. But he probably will play. But Junior Tuamalika or whatever his name is has done a nice job for Notre Dame on the defensive line this season. He had a big game against Georgia with 4 tackles and a sack, and then they've got a couple of young players on their defensive line that have been good for them this season. Donovan Hinish and Bryce Young. And at linebacker, each team has got a lot of depth and speed at the linebacker position. And each team has got a great linebacker. Notre Dame's got Jack Kaiser, and then Penn State's got Colby King. And then in the secondary, Notre Dame's probably better because they've got the best defensive back in the game, Xavier Watts at safety. But Penn State's top safety, Jalen Reed, is really good too. He's their leading tackler and probably the second best player on their defense, uh, besides Abdul Carter. And Notre Dame's best cornerback this season has been Leonard Moore, who's only a freshman, but he's got 42 tackles and 10 pass breakups. But Notre Dame's 2 transfer defensive backs. Rod Hurd and Jordan Clark have been a big help to their defense this season. And Penn State's 2 transfer cornerbacks have really worked out well for them this season that they brought in from Georgia, A.J. Harris and Jalen Kimber. And so I could see this game going in either way. I've been back and forth with my pick for it, but I'm actually going to go with Penn State to win this game. I've got Penn State 20 Notre Dame at 17. And so that means Little Win Franklin will get his first big win in many years to get to lose to Ohio State in the national championship game for, I think, what will be the ninth time. But that will be it with this video. And please subscribe and thanks for watching. And I'll be back soon.